Football, £2 billion to own Manchester United. Episode 11, Super Gambling Loan? What does that mean? Simply put, the system can provide the host with a low-interest loan of less than €10 billion. The time limit is 10 years. After 10 years, if the host cannot repay the loan amount on time, the system will automatically contact the host and recover all the funds donated to the host. Please think about it. Consider a yarn: as long as you dare to borrow, I dare to borrow. Well, how much is the low interest? €10 billion in interest, 1,000 W per year. What? 1,000 W. It's a drop. Groove, this interest is really fucking low. Even Ronaldo's left leg is now more than 1,000 W. Kevin, I don't think you need to ask Warner for a price. Kevin looked at Tan Wenla with a puzzled look and said, Mr. Tan, what do you mean by this? Huh? I mean, you can go back and ask the members of your board how much they are willing to transfer their shares. If the price is right, Marvel Studios, I want it. Of course, if I successfully acquire Marvel, you will still be the CEO of Marvel Studios, and I will not change all the members of Marvel Studios, and I will leave it to you to operate. Boss, you. Are you really going to buy Marvel? Not to mention Kevin at this time, even David was extremely shocked. David, I am indeed optimistic about Marvel, just as I am optimistic about Manchester United. Boss, that's $4 billion, seriously. David, please don't doubt the strength of your boss. I not only want to buy Marvel, but also build Marvel into a giant in Hollywood. Even by boss, I really can't believe that you can't play like this if you have a mine at home, right? Watching Tan Wenla and David chatting with laughter again, as if they didn't regard the acquisition of Marvel as such a great thing at all, Kevin on the side was already shocked and speechless. Kevin forced his breath and swallowed deeply. Mr. Tan, excuse me, I just heard correctly, right? Are you really going to buy Marvel Studios? Kevin, don't doubt the strength of our boss. Do you think Manchester United Club is not as good as your broken film and television company? At the beginning, my boss, when he bought Manchester United, it was the procedures I single-handedly handled, from negotiating conditions to injecting capital. It only took 10 days. Just like our boss said, you go back and discuss with your shareholders, wholly owned acquisition, the price is right, call me, and then I will help you convey it to our boss. David Gill swore something to Kevin, and then, with a low eyebrow at Tan Wenla, he asked, Boss, what do you think of what I just said? Tan Wenla got up and patted David's shoulder, and said with appreciation in his eyes, Well, that's right, many things will trouble you in the future, follow me well, I won't treat you badly. By the way, you two talk for a while, I'll go see Cristiano. After Kevin saw Tan Wenla away in amazement, he asked David blankly, Your boss, what is the family for? Don't ask if you shouldn't. David first glanced at Kevin, and then leaned over to Kevin. I heard that his family is mining. Opening a gold mine may not necessarily be so rich. After Kevin finished speaking, he seemed to have thought of something, and his pupils seemed to open wider. His family's mine won't be a diamond mine, right? Ahem, I told you, don't inquire about the boss's affairs, let's do our best to do our own thing. David, are you so sure that your boss will succeed in acquiring Marvel Studios? Kevin, I understand your current mood, but I can tell you that before the boss bought Manchester United, I was in the same mood as you at this time. Kevin. Tan Wenla was holding a glass of champagne, walking behind the hall of the charity party, and saw Ronaldo chatting with several beautiful women from a distance, and Tan Wenla was embarrassed to go over to disturb him. At this time, a familiar voice came from behind Tan Wenla. Tan Wenla? Tan Wenla heard the sound and looked back. Isn't this the little Hermione, Emma Watson, who met on the plane today? Hey, such a coincidence, we met again. Tan Wenla greeted Emma politely. Emma's sweet smile seemed to melt everything, and she looked at Tan Wenla sweetly and said, No, I saw you a long time ago, but I saw you talking about things, so I don't bother to bother you in the past. Tan Wenla did not expect that this lively and cheerful little fairy was so knowledgeable. Tan, do you know Kevin? Oh, just met. You lied to me, you just met for so long? Emma said with a look of disbelief. Really, don't believe me, I took you over and asked him. Oh, okay, I'm joking with you, Pol. He's a big producer, I'm embarrassed to go over and talk to him. Tan Wenla seemed to hear the meaning of Emma's words, and said with a light smile, Why, do you want to know him? Emma shook her head and said, No, it's just that I saw you chatting with him for so long, and I was a little curious. Aren't you an international student in Huaxia? How do you know Hollywood producers? Could it be that your parents worked in the film and television industry in the United States? Sorry, I don't have relatives, I beat urine orphans. After Emma heard Tan Wenla's words, her heart tightened, and she said apologetically, I'm sorry, I don't know, it's okay. It's no secret. At this time, Emma's eyes rolled around, and then said with a smile, in the hotel today, heard Tan Wenla shouting outside, Are they calling you? Huh. It should be, why? Emma blinked and looked at Tan Wenla very curiously. Tan Wenla turned sideways and pointed to Ronaldo not far away. Because of him. Because of him? So why are those people calling your name? Emma still didn't seem to understand. Do you know Manchester United? Episode 12. As soon as Emma heard this, she was not happy at the moment. How could she say that she was also an authentic Englishman? How could she not know Manchester United? Tan, I'm a friend of yours. How do you feel that you treat me like a fool? Emma pouted and said with a look of displeasure. Hee, since you know Manchester United, don't you know that the owner of Manchester United is a Chinese man? Huaxia people, you, Tan Wenle, you? Are you the rich Chinese businessman who bought Manchester United 3 years ago and was angry and bombarded the media without knowing it? I am at most a rich 3 generations. What a rich businessman. Before his death, my grandfather gave me all his inheritance, but my life was better. Ahem, I can't tell her that I have a system grandfather, right? Hey, I see. Today, did Cristiano renew his contract? It's really smart. It's worthy of the 2 words of Shuaba. Humph, why didn't I find out that you are so poor? After the charity gala, David Gill took Tan Wenle to the residence that had been prepared for him a long time ago. It's a quiet villa, not far from Carrington Training Base and Old Trafford. Tan Wenle did a day's plane, got off the plane and was busy for a long time. When he lay down on the soft big bed, tired sleepiness swept through his body, and soon, Tan Wenle fell asleep. On the second day, an important piece of news swept European football. Heavy. Cristiano Ronaldo has reached an agreement with Manchester United to complete the contract extension with Manchester United. The Sun, fuck the money, Manchester United's new president holds a press conference to keep Cristiano Ronaldo strongly. The Times, Real Madrid really ran into an opponent this time, and the new chairman of Manchester United announced that he would build the Red Devil aircraft carrier. The Mirror, sure enough. Manchester United €100 million offer Messi, the aircraft carrier is really going to set sail this time. Manchester Post, Manchester United's chairman is a madman, such an investment cost, it won't be long before he loses his blood. An aircraft carrier requires a lot of money to build. The Liverpool apology, Manchester United manager Alex Ferguson publicly expressed support for all the recruitment plans of the new chairman Tan Wenle, which mentioned that our chairman is very young and courageous, and the dynasty of Manchester United is now. London Evening Standard, Tan Wenle, on the other hand, slept until nearly noon. When he got up, he pulled out his cell phone and dialed David's number. Boss, are you resting? Ouch, I was so tired yesterday, and I slept for a long time today. By the way, boss, do you have anything to do at night? I just arrived in the UK, what can I do, what's wrong? There won't be any other gatherings for me to attend today, will it? No, it's Miss Emma Watson's assistant who called today and said that Miss Emma Watson would like to invite you to dinner in the evening. Doesn't this little Nico have to be busy making movies lately? Okay, yes, you can help me get back. Okay, boss, yesterday a total of 3 investors offered our team's main sponsorship. Do you think we signed a suitable contract with that? This kind of thing, you just look at it. Okay, then I will talk to them about the specific things, and when everything is negotiated, I am talking to the boss. Well, AC Milan, I have sent the first round of offers in the morning. Coach Alex Ferguson helped you make an appointment with Kaka and his agent to meet in Milan 3 days later, and I have already bought the plane ticket. Okay, good job, what else? Regarding Barcelona's Messi's €100 million offer, I also sent it out in the morning. Boss, what if Laporta agrees? It is better to agree. If the €100 million offer is rejected, in the additional offer, the final offer is set at €150 million. Well, boss, are you really going to buy Messi? I'm going to buy Kaka. Messi is just a smoke bomb. Besides, I bet you that even if I offer €200 million now, Laporta will not sell it, and Ronaldinho's transfer is almost finalized. AC Milan brought in Ronaldinho. In fact, they are also ready to let Kaka go. This trip to Milan, I don't think we will return empty-handed. Haha, okay, boss, you really know the football market in Europe really thoroughly. David will learn from you in the future. Cut, Les, I don't believe you don't know about this. Hey. At this time, Tan Wenle, who was in a good mood, leaned on the sofa in the villa and muttered, Monsieur, you should be coming soon, right? For Tan Wenle, his goal is naturally to fight for more Champions League titles. However, England's biggest domestic league rival, Manchester City, Manchester United's arch-rivals, is still in a period of poverty and debt. But, according to the course of history, it won't be long before that oil tycoon Mansour will take over Manchester City. Although Manchester City did not win the Champions League, Manchester City almost monopolized the domestic top league championship. Tan Wenle's system, for the league, only winning the championship will be rewarded, and this reward is still incremental in nature. For example, the champion of 07, Tan Wenle received a transfer budget of $5,000 from the system. In the defending champion in 08, the transfer budget of the system reward was directly doubled, and $100 million was given at one time. Before Tan Wenle came to the UK, the system had already given the task reward for next season's English Premier League victory, a transfer budget of €150 million. If he wins the runner-up, Tan Wenla will not get a dime. The rewards of the Champions League are more humane, and the rewards are not only rich, but also diverse. The reward given by the system, European War. Won the first place in the group, and the transfer budget increased by 3,000 W. Won the second place in the group, and the transfer budget increased by 1,500 W. Won the third place in the group, and the transfer budget increased by 800 W. Successfully advanced to the last 8 of the Champions League, 5,000 W increase in transfer budget. Successfully advanced to the last 4 of the Champions League, 5,000 W increase in transfer budget. Winning the Champions League, 5,000 W increase in transfer budget. Successfully advanced to the last 8 of the Europa League, 3,000 W increase in transfer budget. Successfully advanced to the last 4 of the Europa League, transfer budget increased by 3,000 W. Europa League win, 3,000 W increase in transfer budget. Advanced to the group stage wins, double the knockout prize money. Unbeaten group stage advances, knockout prize money increased by 0.5. English Premier League wins, transfer budget 5,000 W. English Premier League title, transfer budget increased by 5,000 W. Unbeaten English Premier League, double the prize money. If you have won 4 consecutive championships, you will receive a transfer budget of 500 million when you win 5 consecutive championships. English Premier League wins, 5x bonus. Here, it's scary, too dare to imagine. Episode 13. Alas, next season's Barcelona will be the 6-time champion Barca, the final of the Champions League, difficult. Mansour's acquisition of Manchester City should also be imminent, although it should not pose much threat to himself in recent years. But if Manchester City is given a few years of development time, let alone European competition, England's domestic league championship is a problem. If you want to build a dynasty club, it is necessary to keep Ronaldo as the inner core. If Kaka can be signed in advance, he must first ensure his physical condition. If Kaka's peak can be longer, then I believe Manchester United's attack is absolutely among the best in Europe. But Dream 2, Dream 3, the most terrifying thing about Barcelona is the midfield composed of Habibi. In the afternoon, Tan Wenla came to the Carrington training base. Tan Wenla did not go to his office, but knocked directly on the door of Ferguson's office. Chairman Tan. Ferguson greeted Tan Wenla with a smile and welcomed Tan into the office. Coach Alex Ferguson, I want to ask, does our club have personnel who specifically send people to analyze opponents? Well, yes. There is a dedicated analysis team in our club. There are 6 members of the group, 3 of whom are analysts dedicated to the domestic league and 3 who are analysts who specialize in European opponents. Tan Wenla nodded after hearing this. Coach Ferguson, yes, I hope to hire or deploy 3 people into the analysis team. Chairman Tan means that the work of the analysis group is not doing well now. No, I'm just looking for 3 people to analyze a team. Analyze that team? Barcelona. Huh. Barcelona just got the news that Barcelona is ready to pay liquidated damages for Peak and take him away. What? Are you saying that Peak hasn't left the team yet? Yes, but I guess it's fast, since both of them have chosen to skip the transfer negotiation. Such a player, don't do it. When Ferguson mentioned this matter, he was extremely angry. Coach Alex Ferguson, I know you're very annoyed right now, but I would like to ask you to calm down and think about it. Since Barcelona did not hesitate to activate the liquidated damages to sign Peak, then Peak must be a very important role in Pep Guardiola's tactical system, and they will definitely not sign Peak to play as a substitute. In other words, if we meet Barca in the Champions League next season, Peak is a central defender from Manchester United. He knows our attacking system too well, and when the time comes, it will cause us a lot of trouble. After listening to Tan Wenla's words, although Ferguson began to think, he did not express his opinion. Tan Wenla said cheerfully, this Ferguson is good at everything, but his personality is too proud. Coach Alex Ferguson, I am young, naturally, I still want to listen to your opinion on the normal operation of the team, but, from my personal point of view, it is so. Among the existing central defenders of Barca, Puyol and Gabriel Milito are not very tall, so Barca's air defense is weak. They brought in Peak at a high price. To put it bluntly, they fancy his height of 192 centimeters. My personal opinion, even if we still don't use Peak next season, I think we need to keep him. After listening to Tan Wenla's words, Ferguson sighed and said, Chairman Tan, you are right, this matter is my problem. Ferguson then called Puck's agent and invited them both to his office. When Ferguson hung up the phone, Tan Wenla said again, Coach Alex Ferguson, I think you can call Sergio Ramos. Ferguson naturally understood what Tan Wenla meant, and immediately dialed Ramos's phone. After that, this afternoon, Tan Wenla accompanied Ferguson to discuss the renewal of his contract with Peak. With Tan Wenla's assurance, Ferguson also agreed to give Peak a rotational starting spot next season. In the end, Peak agreed to renew his contract with Manchester United. In fact, Ramos and Peak have long heard about what happened yesterday. By the time they learned that their new boss was so rich, Peak himself had wavered about the move to Barca. You stay in the team and perform well. In fact, I am not as old as you two, but, let me say a cliché, opportunities are reserved for those who are prepared. You are still young. The future of Manchester United is in us young people. Hee hee. After Ramos and Peake left Ferguson's office, the two chatted on the way back to their dormitory. Ramos asked Peake, "What do you think of our boss?" It's good, but I feel a little too young. If it weren't for yesterday's events, I wouldn't have listened carefully to what he said to me today." "What happened yesterday?" Do you mean the boss taking Cristiano to a charity gala?" Ramos teased Peake. "Fac, what are you talking about? Of course you don't mean this." "Haha. Just kidding, how did you take it seriously?" Ramos and Peake are both Spaniards, and the relationship between the two of them is naturally closer at Manchester United, and the two also tease each other on weekdays. In the evening, Tan Wenla was led by David to a high-end restaurant in Manchester. This time, David was very sensible and did not follow up, but waited outside. Tan Wenla walked into this high-end restaurant alone, and as soon as he entered the door, the waiter at the door politely stepped forward and asked, "Hello sir, welcome, are you Mr. Tan Wenla?" "Yes. Miss Emma has been waiting for you upstairs for a long time." After speaking, the waiter made a gesture of invitation to Tan Wenla and welcomed Tan Wenla in. Tan Wenla had just gone up to the second floor when he saw the blonde goddess. Emma's evening dress today seems to give Tan Wenla a more oriental feeling, and there is no lack of intellectual beauty under the sexiness, as if the beautiful princess in the comic book appeared in front of her. For a while, Tan Wenla looked a little stunned. Emma still walked towards Tan Wenla with that sweet smile, and took Tan Wenla's arm and said, "What's wrong? Don't know me anymore?" At this time, Tan Wenla came back to his senses, and said, "Oh, no, you are beautiful today. I am a little stunned by you." Emma laughed brightly after hearing Tan Wenla's words. "Tan, come and sit." Episode 14. After the two sat down, Emma took the wine glass and said, "Tan, I will leave Manchester tomorrow, and I invite you to come today to say goodbye to you. Although we have known each other for a short time, I think we are friends now." Tan Wenla picked up the wine glass in his hand and said, "Of course, we are friends now. Cheers." "Emma, are you going back to filming tomorrow?" Emma shook her head slightly. "I also have to go to Milan to shoot a fashion weekly, and after the filming, I will fly to Scotland to continue filming." "Oh, or little Hermione?" No, Hermione has grown up, okay?" After the two talked and laughed and finished this farewell meal, Tan Wenla sent Emma to the hotel. After saying goodbye to Emma, Tan Wenla returned to the car and asked David in the driver's seat on the side, "David, what's wrong boss? Emma is an artist from that company?" "Wow, boss, you don't want to buy the economic company behind her, do you?" David Gill suddenly exclaimed. "Well, why are you reacting so much?" "No. Not my problem, boss. Do you remember what Kevin said about Warner that day?" "Well, remember. Emma is Warner's artist. Yesterday's charity gala was also organized by Warner. Boss, do you know how big Warner is? Even 10 Manchester United added together, it is not comparable to half of Warner's assets." Then I'm building 20 Manchester Uniteds." David looked at Tan Wenla blankly on the side, and said timidly, "Boss, do you know the anti-monopoly law?" 3 days later, Tan Wenla took David and Cristiano on a plane to Milan. When they arrived in Milan, they were greeted by Milan's current president, Berlusconi. Under the arrangement of Milan staff, Tan Wenla and several people first visited the San Siro Stadium, and then came to the Nello training base in Milan. In the evening, Berlusconi invited them to Palazzo Parigi, the Parisian palace in Milan. This is a very luxurious, 5-star hotel. Berlusconi invited them here enough to show Berlusconi's respect for them. After Tan Wenla saw Berlusconi, who was 72 years old, he couldn't help but secretly admire that the old man's spirit was still so full. Standing behind Berlusconi is Kaka and Kaka's father. "You are the new president of Manchester United, Mr. Tam Manlock?" It's still young people with courage." Berlusconi kindly stepped forward and held Tan Wenla's hand, put his arm around his shoulder and said with a smile, "Prime Minister Silvio, I am just a junior in front of you, and I can't afford such praise from you. Hee, I like to deal with young people. Come, let's all go in." Tan Wenla and Berlusconi walked side by side, but Tan Wenla kept holding Berlusconi's hand and supporting him all the time. When everyone entered the private room and took their seats, Tan Wenla naturally sat next to Berlusconi. Berlusconi smiled and said, "Chairman Tan, I am generally clear about your intentions. Today, I brought Kaka and his father with me, so we can talk together, Prime Minister Silvio. Well, since you already know where we're coming from, let me offend you, are you interested in selling the card to us?" Although Tan Wenla sat next to Berlusconi, he did not show stage fright at all, and asked directly without humility. Of course I don't want to, but if Kaka himself wants to leave, I won't stop it." Berlusconi replied to Tan Wenla with that smile. Tan Wenla said cheerfully, "This old guy is really cunning. A virtue with Ferguson." At this time, Ronaldo and Kaka were sitting together, and it seemed that they were already chatting about something. Tan Wenla did not interrupt their conversation, but asked Kaka's father, "Uncle, do you have any thoughts on Kaka's hope to introduce Kaka?" "Oh, hee, Chairman Tan, I don't dare to be your uncle." Kaka's father laughed awkwardly. "It's nothing, I'm a few years younger than Kaka, you should be called your uncle, and I feel that even if this transfer is not negotiated, I want to be friends with Kaka. Do you know how much I like him?" "Hee, Chairman Tan, we are very happy to love you, but Kaka's position in the hearts of Milan fans is irreplaceable. We can't do anything to betray Milan fans. For that, I am very sorry." When Kaka's father first expressed his attitude, he politely rejected Tan Wenla's affection. Berlusconi, who was sitting next to Tan Wenla, immediately raised a smug smile at the corner of his mouth. "Luo, are you really not going to Real Madrid?" Kaka whispered to Ronaldo. "Well, our new boss has changed my desire to play at Real Madrid. He's crazy, and he's very determined to keep me." Speaking of this, Ronaldo said in Kaka's ear, "You know, I was talking to the boss that night, and he said that he didn't care if the club was profitable, he cared about seeing that Manchester United could win several Champions League titles." "Wow, really?" After Kaka heard Ronaldo's words, his eyes involuntarily looked at Tan Wenla, who was talking to Berlusconi. "Yes, I think if you can come to Manchester United, we can play together. Manchester United will not have any opponents, we can win any opponent." After Kaka heard this, to be honest, his heart was indeed a little moved, but his career planning has always been done by his father, and Kaka has to follow his father's advice no matter what he thinks. "Your Honor, what if, Lord Prime Minister, I can offer Kaka a generous offer?" Berlusconi seems to have expected Tan Wenla to say, "Chairman Tan, Milan's current financial situation does need a lot of money, but I am confident that in the short term, Milan's operation will be back on track. £100 million. As if he hadn't heard Berlusconi's words, Tan Wenla casually offered his own price. Rao is such an old and heavy person as Berlusconi. When he heard the quotation given by Tan Wenla, the old wrinkled hands couldn't help but tremble. Roar. Ronaldo and Kaka naturally heard Tan Wenla's words, but after Ronaldo heard it, he was even more excited. Kaka, who was next to Ronaldo, was a little shocked. Episode 15. Berlusconi stabilized his mind and coughed lightly. Cough, Chairman Tan, I have said that as long as Kaka himself is willing to leave, I will not forcibly leave him. We have already inquired before we came, and the liquidated damages of Kaka are 120 million, so I will pay 150 million. Your Excellency Prime Minister, all my sincerity and respect are here. At this time, Berlusconi was silent, and his heart had begun to become tangled. Seeing this, Tan Wenla did not continue to press. Instead, he turned to look at Kaka's father and said, Kaka's annual salary will be the same as Ronaldo, and I will guarantee the world's first annual salary for the two of them in the next 10 years. Kaka's father opened his mouth slightly. 10 years? Yes, 10 years. Chairman Tan, please forgive me, do you know how old Kaka is this year? 25 years old. 35 years later, so you are still willing to make such a promise? In my opinion, Kaka's career will not only have 10 years left. If Kaka is signed, I will set up a special agency, whether it is Kaka or Cristiano, I will plan reasonable business activities for them, which will definitely not affect their competitive status, and continue their careers to the greatest extent. This. Kaka's father was also a little speechless at this time. Obviously he was also moved by the offer made by Tan Wenla. Kaka. Chairman Tan. When I just came in, I saw that you were walking a little wrong. Did you have any injuries on your body? This sentence was purely made up by Tan Wenla, who only tested Kaka's body for injuries through the system. According to the system's tips, Kaka's groin has a slight strain, and if surgery is performed in time, the chance of recovery is 95%. The sooner the groin condition is treated, the better, but such injuries can be recovered with simple physiotherapy, although the recovery process may be much slower. However, as a footballer, especially for someone like Kaka, he plays at AC Milan and carries too much responsibility on his shoulders. How could Berlusconi have missed Kaka for half a season to recuperate? If he continues to play closed, Kaka's groin injury will become more and more serious, and eventually, it may ruin his entire career. Chairman Tan, it's just a few minor injuries. Tan Wenla shook his head at Kaka and said, I once met a patient with the same injury as you. That person is my friend and an athlete. He hid his injury in order to participate in a very important competition, and in the end, he ruined his career with his own hands. He once told me today that if he chose to have surgery when his condition was not so serious, things would not have developed to that point. Of course, no one is willing to choose surgery when he is in the golden period of his career. On the one hand, he feels that it will be very risky. On the other hand, such an operation process will also affect his competitive state. Tan Wenla said a lot to Kaka in one breath, and Kaka also fell into deep thought after listening to it. For Tan Wenla, he was very aware of Kaka's later physical condition. If it weren't for the injury in his groin, where he kept gritting his teeth and playing closed games, Kaka's career wouldn't have been so short. Okay, everything I should have said has been said, let's eat. The originally seemingly cheerful dinner was extremely dull for a while, and only Kaka and Ronaldo were still communicating with each other in the entire dinner. After the dinner, Berlusconi left Tan Wenla alone. Chairman Tan, is that quote you just made to Kaka real? Of course, but my final offer is in euros. The corners of Berlusconi's mouth couldn't help twitching. He felt that he really underestimated this little guy in front of him. Your Honor, even if you think I'm young, you have to believe in Manchester United's financial strength, right? Coach Alex Ferguson must have spoken to you on the phone, right? Berlusconi nodded slightly. Well, so, Lord Prime Minister, if you agree to this transfer offer, tomorrow I will let David handle all the relevant transfer procedures. If I don't agree today, will this 150 million offer become US dollars tomorrow? Berlusconi smiled heartily. Tan Wenla looked at Berlusconi and smiled without speaking. The word old trader may not be suitable to describe young people, but at this time, Berlusconi felt that this word was very suitable for Tan Wenla. Tan Wenla provoked Kaka's father with money. Impressed Kaka with the promise of his career. After a dinner, Berlusconi himself seemed to know that Milan could not keep Kaka. What he has to do now is to leave as much transfer money as possible for Milan. More than the transfer offer of liquidated damages, Rao is Berlusconi's old Cho, who has been in the football industry for decades, can't help but sigh, money, it's really terrible. 3 days later. Heavy. Manchester United shot, the first blockbuster transfer in the summer window has been finalized. The Sun, Manchester United have reached an agreement with AC Milan. Kaka joining Manchester United is only officially announced. The Times, Real Madrid's Galaxy battleship plans may be falling through, and it is rumored that Kaka has signed with Manchester United. The Mirror, Chairman Tan signed a strong supergiant. He fulfilled his promise in just 3 days. Chairman Tan is the pride of Manchester. Manchester Post, Manchester United are dying step by step, such a big cost, they will not be able to bear. The Liverpool apology. A week later, Manchester United officially announced that Brazilian superstar Kaka joined Manchester United for a transfer fee of up to 150 million euros. The two parties signed for 5 years, and the annual salary of Kaka will be as high as 1,000 euros. Peak renewed his contract with Manchester United in 2013. Ramos signed a contract extension with Manchester United in 2013. Manchester United will step up its efforts to chase Messi and have prepared a transfer contract worth 200 million for Messi. Our Manchester United will be invincible. Manchester Post, Manchester United are crazy, are they going to buy all the good balls in the world? The Times, Manchester United's president, let us subvert the perception of the football market, it turns out that money can really be so willful. The Sun, Episode 16, Boss, Kevin replied, the board of directors of Marvel Studios has agreed to your $4 billion acquisition plan. Kaiwan Tion will come to Manchester in person with the relevant formalities. Well, good I know. David, I have a list here, you have people to talk to them. David Gill took the list from Tan Wenla. Harry Kane, Tottenham Hotspur Academy. N'Golo Kanté. France, Serena? What a team this is. Tan Wenla cleared his throat on the side and said, amateur team, you send someone to find N'Golo Kanté, just say that Manchester United is willing to give him a tryout. Yes, okay, boss. David answered happily, and then continued to look at the names of the remaining people. Gareth Bale. Tottenham, Di Maria, Benfica. Toni Kroos, Germany, Bayern Munich. Karim Benzema, France, Lyon. David De Gea, Spain, Atletico Madrid. Boss, I will arrange for someone to contact these players as soon as possible. David did things more quickly, but whatever Tan Wenla arranged, he would not have any doubts and immediately went to implement it. David, I'm going to set up a brokerage company, are you interested in helping me manage it? Boss, what kind of brokerage company are you going to set up? Is it to plan for entering the film and television industry? No, it's not just film and entertainment, my focus is still on sports. I just think that if I have a sports company, it will be easier for players to transfer and help them take some favorable business activities. That's the case, boss, so why don't you just buy a ready-made company? In this way, you not only have a ready-made team, but if you acquire a slightly larger company, they will also have some ready-made artists in the company, which is also conducive to your better and faster development. After Tan Wenla listened to David's words, he reacted, yes, anyway, the system can give itself a loan, why don't you directly buy a few ready-made companies? David, do you have any good suggestions? If I buy directly, what size company is it appropriate to buy? Boss, do you have an ideal price in mind? You tell me, I will recommend it to you. The price, 2 or 3 billion is still no big problem. Ahem. Ahem, ahem. After listening to Tan Wenla's words, David almost choked himself to death with a mouthful of old phlegm. David said in his heart, how rich is the boss? Could it be that it is the descendant of a certain boss of the Rothschild family left in the Huaxia kingdom? Boss, that, the world's largest brokerage management company IMG now has a market capitalization of only 1.2 billion. David explained to Tan Wenla with a slight embarrassment. Oh, then you go talk to their person in charge? Tan Wenla said lightly. Me? Oh yes Dad, oh no, boss. The next day, when Kevin saw Tan Wenla again, he smiled and said very kindly, my future boss, I have brought you all the contracts. David, please find someone to check for me. After Tan Wenla received the contract from Kevin, it was handed over to David. Later, Tan Wenla asked Kevin, how is Iron Man filming now? Well, it has entered the final editing. If you acquire Marvel Studios, then, after the release of Iron Man, if it is a box office hit, according to the box office share, you will get 40% of the profit income. Well, next, you hurry up and shoot the sequel. I will give Iron Man 2 an additional $100 million in production costs. I hope you can come up with some motivation and make a good sci-fi masterpiece. Okay, boss, I can call you that now, right? Kevin laughed. Tan Wenla leaned lazily on the sofa and said comfortably, of course, boss. In fact, Marvel Studio still has a lot of production plans. I also brought the plan today, you can take a look. Saying that, Kevin took out a plan from his briefcase and handed it to Tan Wenla. Tan Wenla took a look, and sure enough, the title on it said Avengers Movie Production Plan. Tan Wenla asked Kevin while flipping through it, Kevin, the copyright of the character Spider-Man is now in the hands of that company? Sony. Can we buy it back? I can contact Sony to discuss the character buyback. Well, remember to buy back, even the copyright of the goods at one time. Okay, boss. Subsequently, Tan Wenla roughly looked at the script of The Avengers and felt that there was almost no difference from what he had seen. Boss, this production plan is a production plan with a very grand worldview. The first stage of the plan, a total of 6 movies are planned. Tan Wenla quietly listened to Kevin explaining the story of the Marvel Universe to himself, without interrupting him. Tan Wenla first has to confirm that what Kevin said must be consistent with what he knows, and if there is any discrepancy, he should also ask. However, Kevin's storyline is completely consistent with what he knows. If that's the case, you can let them go and make it. When Kevin finished explaining, seeing Tan Wenla without saying a word, he thought that the boss would not be interested in this story, right? Boss, what do you think of this plan? Kevin asked Tan Wenla a little timidly. Not good. Tan Wenla replied lightly. After Kevin listened, his heart clicked for no reason. Boss, do you think this story? The timeline of your production is too long. Is it very difficult to shoot 2 plays a year? That's not, as long as the actors and equipment are in place, with the technology that Marvel now masters, it is not difficult to make 2 movies a year. Then you don't make a movie for 6 years, why do you have to make it for 5 years? Moreover, the first 5 movies are all to set off the last Avengers. Kevin. Boss, pre-preparation, production, release. After the release, we also need time to collect funds. This plan is already the most concise and fastest plan I made. Episode 17, Boss, pre-preparation, production, release. After the release, we also need time to collect funds. This plan is already the most concise and fastest plan I made. Are you worried about funding problems? Kevin sometimes feels that when he chats with the boss in front of him, he will have the feeling of not being on the same channel. I still have $1 billion in spare funds here, and I won't care about your production process including all the operational affairs of casting, but I only have one request, to ensure that 2 movies can be released every year. I don't want you to consider the problem of returning funds, you just need to consider the high-quality production of the film. Kevin secretly cheered in his heart, boss, awesome. Tan Wenla looked at Kevin, who had been silent, and confirmed here, do you understand? Oh, understood. Well, if there is a shortage of funds, you can call me at any time, and the funds I have here can transfer them to you in a few days. Okay boss, I see. By the way, boss, when you have time, you can come to Hollywood and visit our studio. Recently, the team has been busy with the establishment of the new season, and when things are done on the Manchester United side, I will go. Then I wish the boss's team to defend their championships in all competitions in the new season. Tan Wenla smiled and pointed at Kevin and said, it seems that you haven't done your homework. By the way, after you go, you can buy several agencies, preferably the agency of those actors you choose, so that you can also better bundle sales. Kevin, boss, that costs a lot of money, right? Don't buy those big companies, just buy 2 dozen or 2 billion. Poof, okay, I'll keep an eye on it when the boss goes back. Kevin quickly agreed. Time flies, and in a month's time, the new season will begin. Ahead of the start of the new season, United will face Portsmouth for a Community Shield final at Wembley. Most of Manchester United's players, after the baptism of the European Championship, look a little tired. Ferguson boldly fielded several new faces in this game. Goalkeeper, number 1 Van der Sar. Defenders, number 12 Marcelo, number 15 Nemanja Vidic, number 15 Peak and number 4 Ramos. Midfielders, number 13 Park Ji-sung, number 19 Modric, number 7 Cristiano Ronaldo, number 22 Di Maria. Forwards, number 9 Wayne Rooney, 32 Tevez. In this lineup, Ferguson sent a total of 5 youngsters, 2 of whom have just transferred. The media were impressed by Ferguson's formation, and not only did they not regard Portsmouth as an opponent, but they still planned to give up the game. At the pre-match press conference, although Tan Wenla did not attend, because Kaka underwent groin surgery after the transfer, media reporters took out the matter and repeatedly asked Ferguson. It made Ferguson a little big for a while. After the press conference, Tan Wenla watched an embarrassed Ferguson walk down in the background and laughed. Ferguson, who was already in a bit of a bad mood, saw Tan Wenla, who was gloating, went up and directly slapped Tan Wenla on the back of the head, turned around and left. The Community Shield is about to kick off, attracting countless Manchester United fans to watch the Manchester United match. Manchester United manager Alex Ferguson clasped his hands slightly and observed his opponent silently. As old as his eyes, he noticed the subtle movements of the Portsmouth coach, which revealed his nervousness everywhere. Ferguson smiled with satisfaction. Before the game started, mentally, he had already won. Hello everyone, this is Sky, and I'm narrator Alan Smith. As Sky's ace commentator, former Arsenal star Alan Smith has also begun his first commentary of the season. Sir Alex Ferguson's performance last season was truly breathtaking, and the last rainy night in Moscow will remain unforgettable. However, just this summer, Manchester United did not skimp on the money output of the new president. Manchester United spent a lot of money to bring in Milan superstar Kaka. Although Kaka recently underwent surgery, we will not see him in the short term, but this does not affect the heroism of Manchester United president. Let's take a look at the squad that Manchester United fielded today. Oh my god, number 19 Modric? This player, probably not known to most viewers, is the Croatian Footballer of the Year brought in by Manchester United from Dinamo Zagreb for €30 million this summer. He is only 23 years old this year. Well, there is another player, number 22 Di Maria. This is a young player from Benfica, who has performed very well in the Portuguese Premier League. It seems that Ferguson still likes to recruit young players from Portugal. Did Ferguson buy him to replace Giggs? How they perform, let's wait and see. Well, the game between the two sides has started. First, Manchester United kicks off first. Manchester United came up and Ferdinand put the ball up front. What? Rio Ferdinand's long pass accurately found Di Maria on the left wing, and Di Maria was a very bright stop-and-go past Portsmouth's left back. Di Maria cut, a kick, go Manchester United is ahead. Alan Smith's series of commentaries and tearing shouts, his voice felt almost hoarse. And the Manchester United fans at the scene were also caught in a tsunami-like carnival at this time. Because, such a start, no one would have thought of, it was simply too dreamy. After Di Maria's goal, Ferguson was exceptionally calm and chewing gum in his mouth, because he knew that the game had just begun. The Portsmouth players conceded a goal as soon as they came up, and the whole team fell into a dead silence. The next game is getting bigger and bigger, and the situation is going to be over and over again. It was thought that Manchester United sent half of the main team to play, and Portsmouth should have created some difficulties for Manchester United. Episode 18. It was thought that Manchester United sent half of the main team to play, and Portsmouth should have created some difficulties for Manchester United. However, with Di Maria's fantastic kick, everything became so logical. The next 2 goals from Cristiano Ronaldo completely helped Manchester United lock up the game. Ferguson's players successfully touched the Community Shield trophy at Wembley Stadium. It was also the first title United won at the start of the new season. Manchester United fans at Wembley watched their home side lift the trophy, and they were all reveling along with it. Glory belongs to Manchester United. The Red Devils go ahead. Just like those Busby children who used to be, we want the flag of the Red Devils to fly high. You will see it with your own eyes everywhere. You will hear people singing proudly, Manchester United. Manchester United. Manchester United, we are red teenagers. We are on our way to Wembley. 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 On August 16th, Manchester United's season opener will be at Old Trafford against visiting Newcastle United. At dusk, 30 minutes before the start of the game, Manchester United players had all warmed up on the pitch. Ferguson glanced at the chairman's position, but our protagonist, Tan Wenla, didn't know where to run to now. David, hey David. Ferguson beckoned David from the dugout. What's wrong, Coach Alex Ferguson? David trotted all the way to the coach's dugout. What about the chairman? Didn't he come? Well, he must have come, he came with me. However, it's really hard to say where he is now. I'll ask the director to help find it in a moment. After Ferguson listened, his face showed helplessness, feeling that Tan Wenla is indeed a child sometimes, and at this time, he doesn't know where to play. However, sometimes, Tan Wenla shows that it is not like the maturity of his age. Just when Ferguson was helpless, at this time, the voice of Tan Wenla sounded on Manchester United's home broadcast. Hello Manchester fans. Oh, after hearing Tan Wenla's voice, the fans heard the wild shouting of the mountain and tsunami. After Tan Wenla left Cristiano Ronaldo for Manchester United. After Tam Boon Lok helped Manchester United lift the Community Shield at Wembley. The name Tan Wenla has been deeply imprinted in the hearts of every Red Devils fan. Ferguson naturally heard it, and when Ferguson turned his head to look at the home screen, he found that Tan Wenla, the microphone, was standing in the middle of the stadium playing with a group of fans. Gentlemen and ladies, let's cheer for our team. I shout Manchester United, you shout cheers, win. Good. Manchester United. Come on. The fans shouted in unison. Manchester United. Manchester United, victory. Win. Win. The roar of Manchester United fans elicited applause from the Manchester United players on the pitch. At this time, these players on the field felt the blood surging in their hearts. Even Kaka, who did not appear in the list today, was watching the live broadcast through TV at this time, and his heart was very excited. He can't wait to recover quickly and get on the pitch at Old Trafford sooner rather than later to receive the roar of Manchester United fans. In today's opener, Alex Ferguson fielded the same squad that won the Champions League last season. Goalkeeper, number 1 Van der Sar. Defenders, number 3 Patrice Evra, number 15 Nemanja Vidic, number 5 Rio Ferdinand, number 6 Brown. Midfielders, number 16 Carrick, number 18 Scholes, number 7 Cristiano Ronaldo, number 11 Giggs. Forwards, number 9 Wayne Rooney, 32 Tevez. With the referee's whistle, the 08-09 season officially kicked off the English Premier League opener. Manchester United played very active from the start. Scholes and Giggs frequently sent threatening balls up front to threaten Newcastle's goal. As the saying goes, there are no weak teams in the Premier League, although Newcastle are a little passive on the field, but they are stubborn and never give Manchester United a chance to score. The game came to 32 minutes in a blink of an eye. Cristiano Ronaldo broke through with the ball on the wing, the bottom smashed back. Scholes, who received the ball in the middle, met the ball and crossed. Rooney snatched the ball with a header in front of the small penalty area, but unfortunately, the luck was a little worse, and the ball smashed the crossbar. This goal is the closest Manchester United has come to a goal in the first half of the game. The turning point of the game came in injury time in the first half. In the 46th minute of the first half, Manchester United won a corner kick from the right side, which was headed by Giggs. Giggs made a wonderful arc with his left foot and the ball cleverly found Ferdinand at the back post. Ferdinand jumped high and headed in to give United the lead. Manchester United lead Newcastle 1-0. Then, the first half was over, and United returned to the dressing room with a 1-goal lead. However, at this time, Tan Wenla was holding a group of fans and cheering in the stands. They shouted, "Oh, Ferdinand, Ferdinand, Ferdinand." The second half of the game continues. It may be that midfielder Alex Ferguson has stepped up his attacking demands on his players. At the start of the second half, Manchester United's front court pressed and became more ferocious. The entire second half was pressed against Newcastle United. In the 58th minute of the game, Cristiano Ronaldo received a cross from Rooney in front of the box and fired a long-range shot from the edge of the box directly through the gate of Newcastle United. The score came to 2-0. In the 73rd minute, Tevez had a solo chance in front of the pitch, and Tevez calmly pushed to help Manchester United in the next goal. The score became 3:00. However, after Manchester United led 3-0, it seemed that they had no intention of giving up attacking, and 2 minutes before the end of the game, Giggs on the left took the ball and sent a straight ball like a scalpel, accurately finding Rooney, who was successful against the offside. Rooney faced the Newcastle goalkeeper. A feint dunked the goalkeeper, pushed the empty goal. Manchester United ended the game 4-0. In the post-match interview, Ferguson was very satisfied with the performance with the players. Manchester United have shown strong attacking ability in the new season. The Sun. Manchester United successfully lifted the Community Shield. New signing Di Maria was a blockbuster. The Times. Manchester United will be unstoppable in the new season, with the president of Manchester United saying in an interview that they are aiming to defend their double title of League and Champions League. Manchester Post. Episode 19. At Carrington's training base, Coach Ferguson's office heard the sound of a fierce argument between Ferguson and Tan Wenla. No, according to you, this style of play is not Manchester United's way of playing at all. I admit, there is some truth in what you said, but I don't agree with it. Coach Alex Ferguson, at the moment, it is for us to find a team soul system for the club. We have Cristiano Ronaldo, there is Kaka, there is Wayne Rooney, there is Di Maria. Our attacking power is unmatched, but the age of the back line is getting older. We must ask our teammates to retreat further when defending. Tan, your idea is very dangerous. In Manchester United's tactical system, there is no bus, we can properly defend and counterattack, but Manchester United's style of play will definitely not only defend without attack. I didn't say let you only defend and not attack. Why can't you old guy pass people's words? Fack, what did you say? Ferguson slapped his hands the table and roared angrily at Tan Wenla. Tan Wen was happy to see that Ferguson was angry, but he was not to be outdone, and he roared at Ferguson. I said you are an old fellow, can you be a little patient when chatting with people, listen to me finish my words, and express your meaning? Is that how you usually communicate with your players? No wonder Beckham left the Bernabeu. After Tan Wenla said the last sentence, he realized that his words were a little hurtful. Ferguson froze in place, suddenly slumped into his chair, and a little tear oozed from his elderly eyes. Obviously, Ferguson was poked by Tan Wenla in pain. Outside the office door, there were no less than 10 Manchester United players around at this time. They knew that the two inside were arguing, but they did not dare to go in to dissuade them. At this time, David just rushed back from outside. What's wrong, what's wrong? David asked the crowd about the situation. Giggs explained to David, the chairman seems to have had an argument with Coach Alex Ferguson. They were arguing a lot, but just now there was no movement again. We didn't dare to go in. What? How so? Hasn't the relationship between the two of them always been good? How could it be noisy? David looked at Giggs with a puzzled expression, but Giggs shrugged his shoulders, not knowing how to explain. David saw that he couldn't ask anything, so he pushed open the door of Ferguson's office and walked in. Boss, what's wrong with you guys? After David came in, seeing that the two were silent, he took the initiative to ask. Tan Wenla sat there, as if he hadn't heard David's words. Coach Alex Ferguson, what's wrong with you? Oh, no, I think I'm really old, maybe I can't continue to be Manchester United manager. With that, Ferguson got up and walked outside the office. David did not dare to stop it, nor did he dare to continue to ask. When Ferguson walked out of the office, he saw a group of players outside the door and glanced at them coldly, causing everyone to collectively fight a cold war. Ferguson then left without a word. Boss, what the hell is going on? How did you quarrel properly? What happened to Coach Alex Ferguson? Why did he resign? Never mind. Tan Wenla originally wanted to explain something, but he didn't know how to say it. At night, there was a knock on the door of Ferguson's apartment. Ferguson pushed open the door and saw Tan Wenla standing in the doorway. Ferguson did not speak, nor did he mean to drive him away, but turned around and went back to the room alone. Tan Wenla smiled awkwardly and walked in slowly. When Tan Wenla entered Ferguson's room, he saw Ferguson climbing on the table and seemed to be writing something. Tan Wenla quietly came behind Ferguson and did not disturb him. Ferguson notes, the 451 formation evolved tactics, strengthened the defense in the center, retreated 3 to 5 meters from the defensive line, prevented the opponent from taking advantage of the gap behind him, and used the advantage of the central defender's header to prevent the attack of the high-altitude ball. 4-5-1-4-2-3-1 offensive plan, strengthened the breakthrough of the wing, increased the ability of the central players to grab points, the front waist position is flexible and inserted back, looking for rib gaps. Tan Wenla looked at the notes taken by Ferguson, stood behind him and smiled. Ferguson seemed to hear Tan Wenla's chuckle smiling. Is it funny? Oh no. Tan Wenla took a step forward, pointed to the pattern on Ferguson's notes, and said, don't you like to use a classical front waist? Then why are you writing such a thing? Ferguson turned his head and glanced at Tan Wenla, and snorted coldly, hee hee. You think too much, I'm just thinking about the style of play you said today, if I become your opponent, how I should deal with your style of play. Coach Alex Ferguson. What's wrong? Ferguson said angrily. Sorry. My words today offended you, and I am sorry for my words today. I hope you can forgive me. Tan Wenla stood behind Ferguson and apologized very sincerely. As punishment, starting tomorrow, you join the team in daily training. It's not for you to train with them, it's for you, as the chairman, to urge them to train. Oh, good, okay. In the future, I promise to be there on time every day. Okay, go back and rest early, see you at the training ground tomorrow. Okay, see you at the training ground tomorrow. After saying hello to Ferguson, Tan Wenla left the apartment where Ferguson lived. After Tan Wenla left, Ferguson smiled and shook his head and said to himself, this little guy is really a tactical genius. Before the second day of training, Manchester United players arrived at the training ground early and the assistant coach had already started warming them up. Carrick, isn't Coach Alex Ferguson coming today? Giggs, how do I know this? Hey, Cristiano, don't you usually have a good relationship with the chairman? Have you heard anything? No, I haven't seen the chairman since yesterday. Wow, you'll probably see you soon. Ronaldo looked at Nani, who was warming up next to him, with a puzzled expression. Nani wanted Ronaldo to try hard, and Ronaldo looked in the direction Nani pointed, and it turned out that Tan Wenla and Ferguson came to the training ground side by side. Huh? They quarreled like that yesterday, how can they still walk together today? Hee hee, the chairman is young after all. Coach Alex Ferguson has always treated him as a child. Just imagine, you have to break off the father-son relationship the next day after you quarrel with your father? Episode 20. No, you don't understand me. I mean, we can add an option. Cristiano is looking for a breakthrough on the wing. Why do you have to cross from the bottom? Yes, that's right. With Cristiano's personal skills, he did dangle past the wide defenders, so whether it's a high ball cross or a low-level ball pass into the triangle, it's an option. What I'm saying is, before the breakthrough, why can't he choose to cut inside the middle and choose to hit the goal himself? After Tanwenla finished his advice on the sidelines, Ferguson said fiercely, "Do you know what the chance of success is the kind of choice that Cristiano is talking about? Do you know what the success stats are after the bottom cross?" Coach Alex Ferguson, football can't always speak with data, right? Why can't you give players more room to be creative? While the two were arguing fiercely, these players at Manchester United looked at Tanwenla as if they were watching a monster. A kid who is less than 20 years old is arguing with their meritorious head coach about the team's technical and tactical play? Moreover, it seems that the two of them were arguing yesterday because of this, right? Cristiano, come here. Suddenly, when everyone looked confused, Ferguson called Ronaldo over loudly. When Ronaldo heard Ferguson's call, how did he have a bad feeling in his heart? Coach. Go, according to the chairman. Did you hear what he just said? Heard me. Well, according to him, go shoot, 10 times. Ramos, you come to defend him. Van der Sar, go, guard the door. Ferguson said pointingly to the players behind him. When everyone was ready, Ferguson shouted, let's go, go, direct shot. Let the chairman see what you are capable of. Ronaldo held the ball, shook Ramos with a feint, and shot directly inside. First time, shot high. Second time, not enough shots. Third time, Ramos seems to have found a defensive knack and made a tackle directly at the same time as Ronaldo came out with his foot. The fourth, fifth, and up to 10 times were all completed. Cristiano Ronaldo completed a shot that Van der Sar had no choice but to do. Okay, next, 10 crosses. Rooney, Ferdinand, you two go inside for offensive and defensive practice. Good. After Rooney and Ferdinand answered, the two came to the vicinity of the small penalty area. Ronaldo began a breakout practice with a bottom cross. With such an offensive play, Ronaldo seems to be more familiar with the road, completing 5 successful crosses on his left and right feet. After the experiment, Tanwenla was dumbfounded. Tanwenla walked to Cristiano, looked him up and down, and said to himself, something is wrong? The efficiency of the gate in this position should not be so bad, right? At this time, Ferguson was like an old urchin, standing back and looking at Tanwenla with a smile. Hee, chairman, remember what you just said, dinner in the evening. Well, okay, I'm willing to gamble and lose. I'll let David go to Michelin and order a big meal in a while, right? Tanwenla looked at Ferguson and said speechlessly. At this time, the Manchester United players looked at the two a little speechless, this old and young really, actually betting on them? At the same time that everyone was in a daze, the smile on Ferguson's face disappeared instantly, and he shouted to everyone, look what, continue training. Tanwenla walked up to Ronaldo and said, just that kind of inside cut breakthrough shot, you should make a good contact. With the kick of the fallen leaf ball, it will increase your goal efficiency. Coach Alex Ferguson will be upset if you do that, right? Cristiano Ronaldo during Manchester United is not the same as he was during Real Madrid, and he does not have the right to fire unlimited at Manchester United. There are many ways to attack, and Ronaldo has slowly strengthened after going to Real Madrid. At Manchester United, in Ferguson's tactical system, Ferguson does not allow any disobedience and disobedience. Moreover, Ferguson places more emphasis on teamwork and does not advocate individual heroism. Perhaps, this has some connection with Cantona and David Beckham before, and then Ferguson's Manchester United team has always been a very tactical team. However, such a team more or less lacks some extremely talented creativity. If you can guarantee a very high success rate, how can Coach Alex Ferguson stop you? Well, I see. Ronaldo nodded heavily to Tanwenla. The road ahead is only going to get harder, and I think you can get stronger and stronger, strong enough to help Manchester United win everything. In the following league, United hardly encountered opponents who could cause problems for themselves. Premier League second round, Manchester United beat Portsmouth 0-2 away at home. Third round of the Premier League, Manchester United beat Fulham 5-1 at home. Manchester United have started the season with 3 straight wins, and the Community Shield should be 4 in a row. After 3 rounds of Premier League strikes, Manchester United players flew to Monaco, the Louis II Stadium, where a UEFA Super Cup final will be played. Manchester United's opponent will be Europa League winners, Zenit St. Petersburg. The night before the game, Ferguson called Tan to his room, and the two talked for a long time. On the second day, Tanwenla was placed on the coaching staff by Alex Ferguson and accompanied the team to the stadium. Tan Wenla personally experienced the feeling of sitting on the bench this time. This feeling is very special. Looking at the Louis II Stadium, there are many Manchester United fans in the stands. Tan Wenla waved his arms to greet them. Chairman Ferguson called Tan Wenla to his side at this time. Coach Alex Ferguson. The game is about to start, let's go to the dressing room first. In a moment, the players will be on the field, okay. After Ferguson returned to the dressing room with Tan Wenla, he said to the whole team, today's tactics, we have been practicing for many days. Today, as long as you play your performance in training normally, I believe that we will definitely be able to defeat Zenit. Gogagog. Come on, lads. Before coming on, Ferguson encouraged the momentum of the team. As Manchester United emerged from the tunnel, the fans cheered. In this game, Ferguson changed his tactics and did not use his own 442. Instead, a completely new formation was adopted.